Welcome back. We're going to make this uncomfortable from the beginning because most of what you call thinking is just emotion with a really good explanation. You think you're being logical. You think you're being strategic. You think you're making a clean, clear decision. But if your state, your affect, your mood is off, then you're not thinking, you're reacting. The problem is reaction can often feel like thinking. It feels justified. It feels fast and it feels certain. You're in touch with your intuition, which is exactly why it's dangerous. And this is why Anchor is the first thing in our series that we launched Monday. Not because it's nice, not because it's wellness, because without it, everything else is compromised. So let's define it cleanly. Anchor is your ability to notice your internal state and then regulate it enough to create space to respond how you want. It's not eliminating emotion. It's not about becoming robotic. It's creating just enough space to not be immediately controlled by the physiology and the emotions that are your reaction. Because here's what's happening in the moment most of the time. Something triggers you. A comment, a tone, a delay, a look, and instantly your body shifts. Your breathing changes, your attention narrows, your interpretation hardens. And now your brain does something very clever. It builds the story to support that reaction. They're disrespecting me. This is going off track. This isn't good enough, or I'm being ignored. And now you're gone. Not physically, but cognitively, you left the building. You're no longer engaging in the reality of the moment. You're engaging in your interpretation of the story you're creating, while your nervous system is busy driving the car. Here's the kicker. You're smart. The smarter you are, the better you are at defending that state. You justify it, you explain it, you rationalize it, you build a strong case for why your reaction is the correct one, which means that intelligence without regulation just makes you more convincing when you're wrong. So let's stop pretending this is about mindset. While that's valuable, we'll cover that later. This is about physiology first. You don't think your way out of an activated body state. You regulate your way out of it. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, oh, great, another breathing exercise, let me be clear. It's your entire strategy. If your entire strategy for handling pressure is take a deep breath, then you're bringing a butter knife to a gunfight. There's more to it. Anchor is not just a trick. It's a capability, a capacity for action. And like any capability, it's going to need some structure and practice. So here's a usable version for you to try out. It's 3 moves. It's not perfect, but it's fairly practical. First, name it in a precise way. I'm frustrated. I'm feeling rushed. I'm feeling defensive. I'm trying to control this. Why does it matter? Because if what you don't name, you simply act out automatically. And most people skip this. They go straight from feeling to reacting without ever identifying what's happening inside. Second, slow down. This is where we often oversimplify. Just count to 3. Slowing is not just about breathing. While breathing can help, breathing can act as a good reset for your physiology, but this goes deeper than that. This is about interrupting the moment, changing your posture, pausing your speech, and delaying your response. Even a 2-second gap is enough to change the trajectory because reaction thrives on speed of the moment. The faster you go, the less choice you have. So slow it down. Third, widen it. This is where thinking comes back to play. Ask what else could be true here. Not in a fake way, not in an overly or toxic positivity way, but in an honest way. Maybe they're not disrespecting you. Maybe they're just not speaking clearly. Maybe this isn't off track. Maybe it just doesn't match your expectations. Maybe it's not not good enough. Maybe it's just not finished yet. Widening doesn't make you soft, it makes you more accurate. Now, let's talk about what happens if you don't anchor, because this is where people start to lie to themselves. And the smarter you are, the better lies you can tell. They say, I just speak my mind. I'm direct. I don't need a filter. No, you're reactive and you've built an identity around it. Or the opposite. I don't like conflict. I like to keep the peace. I want to stay positive. No, you're avoiding discomfort and you've labeled it as maturity. Different styles, same problem, no anchor. And here's the consequence. Without this anchor, your agency becomes impulsive, your alliance becomes strained, and your authenticity becomes situational. You don't lose control all at once. You lose it in small, justified moments. Comment lands wrong, a tone sharpens, a silence that avoids. Over time, that becomes your pattern. And is that who you want to be? Here's another part most people don't want to hear. If you cannot sit in discomfort for 10 seconds, you will outsource your behavior to emotion. And then you'll spend the next hour explaining why that behavior made sense. The stories go on and on. That's the cycle. So the work here is not about becoming calm. Calm is situational. The work is about becoming stable. It's different. It's an ability to feel pressure without immediately acting on it. Able to notice activation without being consumed by it. Able to stay present when everything in you wants to react. That is anchor. Now, another paradox. The people who think they don't need this oftentimes need it the most because they're often the ones saying, I already know this. Well, you don't need to know it. You need to be able to actually do it when it counts, when you're in the trenches, in the meetings, in the conversation, in the moment that you feel challenged, not later, not when you're reflecting about it, not in theory, not in the last book you read. So, how do you actually start? Pick one moment, maybe today, when something feels off, and pause, and then run through it. Name it, slow it, widen it. You don't need perfection. You just need that interruption. Because if you can interrupt the pattern, even a little bit, you've already changed the outcome. And once you can anchor, now you actually have access to agency. And that's where we're going next. Once you create space, you don't get to hide behind your emotions anymore. Now you have to choose. And most people don't like that nearly as much. Next time.